It's gonna be a fairly quick class. We're just gonna go straight into it. Okay, let me get the back light off. I just need the front one. Shalom, Yahweh Shem Yahshua Barakatah, Yahweh Shema Atan Ba'ashem Yahushai. This is the Isupk. It started out at 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, in 1969. We're under commanding General Yahan. And we stood the Bible as so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American Indians are the real Israelites according to the scriptures. This is our Hebrew class, which we're continuing where we left off in the previous sessions. Basically, what we've been doing is we've been actually breaking down Psalm chapter 140, because this is a part of our series. We've been going into a series called Ancient Hip Hop or Battle Rap Bars of the Ancients. I'm trying to come up with a cool title to get motherfuckers to click on the shit. But, basically what we're talking about is that when you read the book of Psalms, you're actually reading about very relevant topics that Israel is dealing with even up into this day. The Psalm chapter 140 is really what do you call it? Parallel to the black community, the Hispanic community, and the dangers that we face in this society, whether it be through police brutality. Currently, we've been dealing with oppression from ICE agents, so-called ICE agents, and even from each other, right? The black on black crime, brown on brown crime, that type of thing. Just the overall dangers that we face being here in this place and not having our own kingdom, not having our own way of life that we can fall back on for us to stay strong. So what we're doing here is we're breaking it down in the Hebrew. We left off with the 2 verses in the previous session. We're going to continue to see if we can do at least another 2 verses in today's session. But we're going to recap what we said in the previous class. And in the previous one, we're in Psalm chapter 140, verses 6 and verse 7. And we're going to read it in the Hebrew first. It says, Amarathia, La Yahweh, Alayah, Atha, Ha'azayana, Ha'azanaya, Ha'azayana. It's like Azayana. Yahweh, Kwawa, Thakanawanya. This goes without saying. Check the vocabulary on this side of the board here. These are excellent to take notes with because you'll get some more vocabulary for your repertoire of Hebrew that you can use day to day. So I put that stuff out there. It's definitely up to us to be the ones to take what we learn in these classes and start to use them. When we say prayer, supplications, inquiring and treating of the Lord, that type of thing is what it's talking about. That's Thakanawan. My supplications is Thakanawan Ya, adding a Ya at the end of it. Okay, so it's talking about a prayer. And what we said in verse 6 was, I said to Yahweh, my power, hear Yahweh, the voice of supplications. This is like, please hear what it is that I'm asking of you. This is a prayer that we can, like, these are lyrics to a song, but these are parts of a prayer. This is technically a new prayer that we can use in the Lashon Kodesh, we can say on a day-to-day basis. Maybe not during the Sabbath service and the high holy days like we do, because we have prayers for that specifically. But there's nothing wrong with you having more prayers and more sayings and more Hebrew to practice with. And so the whole entire chapter of Psalm 140 is an excellent chapter to learn. But verses 6 is kind of setting the ground for the rest of the chapter. And it's saying that he's asking for the Lord to hear his prayer. Okay. And this is, again, these are lyrics that were certified by King David himself, by the chief musician of Israel, who sent this out for it to be approved. And then it ends up in the book of Psalm. Okay. There are many books within the book of Psalm. There are many psalms or songs in this entire library of bars, basically. But what we're doing is we're breaking it down in the Hebrew so we can get a better understanding of the word for word and how it flows in the Lashon Kodesh. So we're going to read that verse one more time. Let's go ahead and read it straight through. Marathia. Go ahead and repeat after me. We got Officer Yakal Yala in the class today. So big up to him. Go ahead and repeat after me, priest. Marathia. La Yahweh. Alaya. Atha. Ha Azayana. Azayana. Yahweh. Kwawal. Tacha Nawanya. All right, and that's going to be verse 6. Moving on to verse 7. Verse 7 starts off with Yahweh, Adanya, Isaiah, Ya Shawaitha, Sakatha, La Ra'ashya, Ba Yawam, and then finally Nashak, yeah, of battle. And then what we just read was, it says, Yahweh, my Lord, Adanya. You can actually use the word Adawanya, my Lord is another way of saying it. That's perfectly fine. I just have it directly translated from the Strong. So Adanya is how it's pronounced there. Then it says, Yahweh, my Lord, the strength of my salvation. The strength of my salvation. He's not just giving the Most High praise. He's letting him know, I depend on you for the things that happen in my life, whether it be good, whether it be bad. I know that when I do go through trouble, that you're the reason why I'm able to be pulled out of it. And it's important that we have that in our music, because giving up praise to the Lord, this is crazy. A lot of artists, when they're making their music, they'll big up themselves. It's not very common that their music is centered around praising the Most High, because it's too busy focused on other things. It's too busy focused on their cars, or if it's a woman, they may be talking about how many men they can pull and how big their booty is when they shake it and all this kind of stuff. And then when they see that they get a reward at the Grammys, then they want to thank the Lord. But that doesn't actually make sense. We would have to give our praise to getting out of our situations to the Lord, even while we're going through it, rather than to try to say, oh, well, I did this and I did that, and then try to let the Most High have the glory from basically what's a bad influence and bad lyrics anyways. Why not have the lyrics about leaning on the Most High to get out of our situation? That is, when you see music like that, then you start to think to yourself, okay, this artist is trying to hold on to their spiritual strength. So when you hear music like that, it's something that does resonate a little bit better, especially for Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, because we are a very spiritual people. So it says Yahweh, it says Adanya, Isaiah, Ya Sha, Sakatha, La Ra'ashya, Bayawam, Nashak. And that's what he's saying. He's saying, Yahweh, my Lord, the strength of my salvation, you have defended my head in the day of battle. You have protected my neck in the day of battle. Can't say the same thing for Charlie Kirk. I'm done. We're going to get canceled. But the Most High is the one that protects us during times of war. We see how men are moving around with swords and all types of weapons of war, but the Most High is the one that sets the grounds for certain events to happen in everybody's life. It's a lot of micromanaging. It's a lot of macro managing across the whole world, but we know that it's ultimately the Most High that discerns who lives and who dies, because that's what he says. He says, I, the Lord, he says, I, the Lord, am he, and there is none with me. He says, I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. I, the Lord, do all these things. And so we're acknowledging that. This scripture lines right up with scripture that I just mentioned by heart, where we're giving the defense of our life to the Most High and recognizing that the Most High is the one that does it. So let's go ahead and erase this. We're going to get into today's lesson pretty quickly here, because we're going to try to get a couple verses in. We don't have an entirely let's see. All right, all right. So where we're at now, going to verse 8. Now, of course, those of you that have the Strongs, not the Strongs, the Bible Hub app, is a chance for you to follow along with me, so you can see how I'm doing this. So the Bible Hub app, again, we're going to Psalm chapter 140. And now we're going down to verse 8. It's going to be excellent. Now let's before we continue, let's read in English up until this point. So if you have the regular King James Bible app, Officer your call, let's just read real quick Psalms 140 verses 1 through 7, so that we can get an idea and get caught up. It's been a couple of weeks since I've taught this class, so let's just read in English up until this point, and then we'll continue in the Hebrew. Psalms 140, just start at verse 1. We'll read that through.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 140, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
To the chief musician, a psalm of David. Deliver me, O Lord, from the evil man.
Mm-hmm.
Preserve me from the violent man.
That's what we're asking for the Most High to do. We're asking for the Lord to protect us from the evil man, from the violent man. We know who that is. It goes without saying. It's the Caucasian. It's the conquistadors. It's the policia. It's the oppressor. Okay. This isn't no game. When the Isupk tells people these things, it has nothing to do with racism. It has nothing to do with hatred. It has everything to do with truth. And the truth hurts people's feelings. One thing that I've learned, because the scripture even tells you this, the truth is the most powerful thing. Because the truth is something that cuts through the bone all the way to the soul. And so when we bring out the truth, that people tend to get offended. And so they'll label us a hate group. They'll label us a radical group. They'll do all these things, but they don't understand the Bible. The way we understand it is a way that lays it flat so that it all can make sense finally. A lot of times people, they say they read the Bible and try to read it from front to back, and then they still live a certain type of way that doesn't go according to the book. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, the scripture is basically telling us that we need to be aware that there is a people who are violent. There is a people that are dangerous, and it is a nation of people. But there are many nations that were coming after Israel since those ancient times. And so we have to be aware of all threats, to be situationally aware of everything that seeks to destroy us. Keep reading.
Verse 2, which imagine mischiefs in their heart.
Mm-hmm.
Continually are they gathered together for war.
And that's what they do. They gather together in their courtrooms. They gather together in their senates, in their backdoor underground rooms, and their and what do you even call it? The Bohemian Groves and the rallies and all these different things, where they think of ways to come against the children of Israel. This is not a joke. Again, Psalm chapter 83 tells us about the confederacy of the other nations. So they gathered, right, all these different ways that they think tanks, and now they got the internet, so they can do conference calls and phone calls and all that kind of stuff. And what is it that they do that for? Read that again.
Verse 2, which imagine mischiefs in their heart.
Mm-hmm.
Continually are they gathered together for war.
For what?
Continually are they gathered together for war.
And that war is against us, a war for your mind, a war for your soul, a war for control and influence. That's the war that we have to deal with right now. Alex Jones calls it the info wars, right? But what it is a war of truth and lies. And we know that Satan, his power is his ability to lie and use that for control and use that for influence and power and sovereignty. But we have to come against that by exposing who it is. So a prayer like this is important to recognizing that, and no different than hip hop was important to recognizing the dangers in our communities, the struggles in our communities. And so I actually consider this to be ancient hip hop that we're reading right here because it's very relevant to what's going on in our ghettos, even in 2025, thousands of years after this was written. Keep going.
Verse 3. They have sharpened their tongues like a serpent.
Mm-hmm.
Adders, poison is under their lips. Salah.
Adders poison under their lips. So it's talking about they sharpen their tongues like a serpent. That's like that fire that they spit to try to propagate and to try to profile us. It's no different than when they see a black man who may or may not be innocent of a crime. They portray him as a criminal, guilty before proven innocent.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The second that a black man does any kind of crime activity, they go and they look up his background, and then they put the worst possible photo of that person that they can. But when it's a Edomite that commits a crime, whether they shoot Charlie Kirk or whether they commit a mass shooting, they have to show the most regular photo possible of them to try to ease the image and trying to hide who the violent nature of them is. You understand? So it's a poison like a serpent because it infects the minds of the people to side with them subconsciously. You understand? So that war is very much prevalent in the music, in the news, in the media, social media, from TikTok to Instagram, and of course TV and everything like that. So we have to be aware of that adder, which is basically a viper, and the poison that they spit, because that's their propaganda machine. Right. Keep going.
Verse 4. Keep me, O Lord, from the hands of the wicked. Preserve me from the violent man.
Mm-hmm. Preserve me from the violent man. We know who that is. Keep going.
Who have proposed to overthrow my goings.
Keep going.
Verse 5. The proud have hid a snare for me, and cords. They have spread a net by the wayside. They have set gins for me. Salah.
That's what they do. They continue to set traps, whether it be drugs in your hood, whether it be bad influence in the music that the Jewish man that controls the music industry allows to be pushed in our communities and on our radio stations. It's in everything. It literally is traps everywhere you step. That's why the scripture says that you have to walk that narrow path, and that narrow path is as if there's a deep water on one side and a fire on the other, because those traps are everywhere that can catch you, whether it be you going to the Christian church and thinking that that's the way to live. And that just, again, leads you right into the mark of the beast because they don't know the Bible the right way.
Right.
You understand? That's a trap. The K through 12 system, which leads you to go to college and to really lean on America's way of life and the Greek fraternities and all that, that's another trap. Whether you grow up in the hood and your parents are struggling to make ends meet, and your parents are separated because that's the system and the way that it is designed to make us fall apart as families, and then you end up on the street selling drugs, or you end up on the street selling your body for money. You know what I'm saying? That's the traps that they set, and that's what you see in our music now. Because go ahead.
They call it the blade, where the prostitutes walk. It's called the blade.
Damn, that's crazy. That makes sense too, because that's gonna cut you either physically or health wise. You know, come on. Damn, that's a good one. Keep reading.
Verse 6. I said unto the Lord, Thou art my God. Hear the voice of my supplications, O Lord.
That's where we finished our last class. We were reading that, hear the supplications. So we started the song, but we're reiterating the fact that what we're doing is we're actually asking the Lord to watch over us. So those lyrics, it flows in a way that that allows us to be spiritual in just our everyday life. You know, the scripture tells us that we're supposed to meditate in the scriptures day and night. And so it's going to show in our music if we are the type of people that stay with our head in the book. It's just a natural part of our day-to-day life. Our music's going to sound like that. The way that we live is going to show that. You know, we don't hide the things that we do. We live stream all the time what we're doing. People know what we're up to because we're constantly live streaming us, doing our absolute best to keep the Most High's law, statutes, and commandments, because the scripture says to rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord. Keep reading.
Verse 7. O God, the Lord, the strength of my salvation, thou hast covered my head in the day of battle.
Yeah. So we're good on that. That was the end of verse 7.
Come.
Yeah, so that's what we're asking for, is the Most High's protection, to protect us from the violent man, to protect us from the bad influence and the viper spit and the poison, you know what I'm saying, that this place tries to put against us. Because, and you know how you know it works? Because you got Hispanics that voted for Trump to be in office that are okay with seeing ICE agents doing the thing that they do. That's how you know that poison is working, because that poison is infectious. When a poison is in your body, it makes your body attack itself. And what it's doing to our people is it's making our people attack our own people. You understand what I'm saying? So that type of danger is very subtle, but has become an integral part of what it means to be an American. Okay, because to do that, there's a part of your soul that has to be removed from your zeal to the Most High in order for you to do so. Now, the scripture says that no man can serve two masters, and that's absolutely true. You're either going to look to America, or AKA Babylon, for guidance and leadership and presidency and senates and laws and judgment and all these things, or you're going to have to go to the Bible. You understand? You're not going to get the truth from America. You're not going to get it from the Israelis, but you can get it from the Bible itself. That's the thing about the Bible, is that it is true. People just lose faith in it because they don't know how true it really is. Because, again, those traps that were set kept us from knowing just how real it is. Now, this is I'm almost done with this one. Says, yeah. Did you want to add to that? What were you going to say?
So no, you got it.
Okay. Yeah, right. I gotta see what this row. Wow. Okay. So look.
Al-Tatan, Yahweh,
Wa ya
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Because I haven't read the paleo in a minute.
Good. It's good to see it, though. You know what I'm talking about? Because this is the Hebrew that we're probably going to use more often. We just use it in the Sabbath service, but this is the Hebrew. This Hebrew is actually easier. I'm just writing the next verse real quick. My Sadia. Yeah. So this is going to be verses 8 and verse 9. Okay. That's actually a pretty short verse. But let's go back to verse 8 and let's just read it as it is. And then we'll correct whatever we need to correct, because I do need to get these root words, and we'll double check that as we go. So verse 8 starts off with Al-Thathan. In the Hebrew. You don't have to read the English yet. We'll translate this here in a minute. Good. Al-Thathan. Yahweh. Then it says Ma'awa ya ya. Ma'awa ya ya. Ma'awa ya ya. Ma'awa ya ya. Then it says Rashai. And it says Za Mamwa. Zamamwa. Zamamwa. This is Al Thapak. Al Thapak. Then it says Ya Rawamwa. Ya Rawamya. Ya Rawamwa. Rawam means like Rawam is the same thing as saying Ram. Like Officer Ram. Yeah. Because his name means rise or exalted. And this when we say Quam or Quam Yasha'Allah, that means rise Israel, right? Now, technically, Quam Yasha'Allah is correct, like grammatically correct as well. That's why when we say Shalom or Shalom, there's there's a stigma between should we use the Y in the middle or not. Right. But when we say Adawan, we use the Y in that. But you can say Adan, and that's the same thing. Right. So right here it's saying Rawam means exalt. There's more to it, but Rawam could mean Ram also. You could pronounce it Ram. Salah, which is the way that it's like saying Salakia, almost like ending a sentence in humility. You know what I'm saying? So Salah is one way to kind of it doesn't necessarily mean anything. Salah just means Salah, like it just means suspension or a pause. Like it's used almost like we would use in grammar in English, we would use a period at the end of a sentence. Salah is a way to divide thoughts. You know what I'm saying? So it ends this thought, and then it picks up in the next verse, and then it starts a new train of thought. So Salah is a way of doing that. But Salah is also kind of like a graceful way to end the sentence with a bit of humility. Because it almost is like saying Salakia. Right. So it's like saying excuse me, and at the end of what your request is. You know what I'm saying? So then it starts off the next verse that says Ra'ash. Ra'ash, which is starting in verse 9. Ra'ash means the head. Right. Then it says Masabya. 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 This is a short verse right here. Masabya. Then it says Imal. Imal. This is crazy. Because the word mal in Spanish means bad, and this actually means evil. So it's the same thing. Imal. Like malo? Or ma? Mm-hmm.
Imal. So like you said, because Spanish is Latin and it's got some Arabic in it.
I'm sure there is, yeah, but I'm sure there's a lot of that in it. You know what I'm talking about? It's just that you know, when you look at even the character Ah looks like an A, La looks like a La, like L. Right. You know, those things. Some of that stuff has withstood the test of time. I was speaking with a colleague at work who's Chinese, and some of these characters were ones that he recognized, not necessarily that they sound the same in Chinese, but like letters like Sa looks like Japanese. Yeah. It looks Chinese. Another character like Kha, that's another one that you may see similarities in Chinese or maybe even older variants of Mandarin and stuff like that. So some of that stuff carries over because, again, technically they are Shemitic. They come from the seed of Shem. Right. Or you go way back to Lot, right? And then his daughters who did what they did, now they got slanted. So they got that slanted, you know what I mean? The days far apart. I mean, listen, man, that's how it is. And now finishing up is Shapath. Shapath Yamawa. Shapath Yamawa. Shapath Yamwa could be how it's pronounced. I have to look at that. Shapath. The root word here is shapah, which means to band or to border or to bring. Chapath-moi. Okay. Chapath-moi. I'm gonna just say it like that, like straight up. And then finishing off, Yakasamwa. The root word here is kasa. Yakasamwa. Now we're gonna translate it, but let's read it one more time straight through, and then we'll translate it into English. So from the top, this is Psalm chapter 140, verses 8 and 9. Al-Tathan. Tathan. Yahweh. Ma'awa. It's like a Ma'awayaya. Ma'awayaya. Rashai. Zamamwa. Al-Thapak. Ya Rawamwa. Rawamwa. Salah. Ra'ash. Masabya. Aimal. Then it's Shapath Yamwa. Yakasamwa. And I tell you, that sounds indigenous, bro.
It does.
It does, right? It sounds indigenous. It's crazy because you got to understand, if you're watching this through this screen right now, you're watching this class. This, it's one of the most rarest things that your eyes can look at on this whole planet. Right. This is one of the most rare things that you could see. We're seeing an ancient language, the Holy Tongue, being used thousands of years after it was supposed to be gone from the earth. After the enemy had been trying to remove us and make Israel not a nation anymore, that the name of Israel may no more be in remembrance, and that our language aren't used by the Israelites anymore. Well, somehow the Lord have made it to where we're here in this class, reading it and learning it and trying our best to reclaim what was lost. Right. So this is an excellent thing to be going into. You know what I'm talking about? I'm honored to be able to teach these classes. You know what I'm saying? Because every time I read these verses, it just hits real heavy. Now let's see what it is that they're saying. It says not. Remember, la'ah is one way to say no, but al also means not. Okay, so al-Tathan, it says not do grant. When you have the al in front of Tathan, it's saying do not grant. You understand? Right. Yahweh is asking the Lord not to grant something. Not do grant. Tathan. I'm just putting these brackets. It says ma'awayaya. Ma'awayaya, the desires. Ma'awaya. So it's saying the desires. Rashad of the wicked. Zamamwa. Zamamwa. The word is wicked device or scheme. Zamam. Root word here is zamamwa. Of the wicked, his scheme, devices, his plans, his evil, his you know what I'm saying? Because we know that they have a agenda. Right. There's another word for that. Scheme, agenda, plan, device. Device is kind of like it lines right up with that because it's the mechanism that moves that agenda forward. You know what I'm saying? It's the things that are set in place to actually allow it to be brought forth. Like a device or a scheme is the Planned Parenthood, for example. Right. A device or scheme is the war on drugs, right, where they supply the drugs and then send enforcement in to punish those that are using it. You know what I'm saying? It's all the different ways that what Esau does is where he creates the problem, then he goes to try to be the one to fix it. That's why I say Esau is an aura farmer, because he'll always try to create the issue and then be the one that's on the news and the newspapers getting all the praise for having fixed the problem. But a lot of the root cause is because of the things that he's done. And so he's saying, do not grant Yahweh the desires of the wicked, his scheme. It says, not to further, not do further, not do further, lest they be exalted. The word here is exalt. Isupk. That's all one phrase. When you see these brackets, that's just showing you the root word. Then it says Salah. Salah. You understand? So what is it that he's saying? Do not grant Yahweh the desires of the wicked, his scheme, not do further, lest they be exalted. First, we're exalting that their desires have been going on. Right. That's why the scripture says, how much longer, Lord, will you allow them to be in power? I'm paraphrasing, but I believe it's in the Apocrypha. You know, seeing that you had made the world for our sakes. Why is it that you put up with these people? Well, obviously, we have a lesson to learn, and we understand that there's two sides to this. There's the desire of, there's the inquiring of us to ask of the Most High to remove these wicked devices from punishing us. But that goes without saying that our end of the bargain still has to be kept up. We still have to keep the Most High's laws. We still have to be righteous and strive to be perfect and to wake up our brothers and sisters and to build a righteous community that is going to deem us worthy of the Most High removing those punishments from out of our ways. But I will say this, the music influences us to stay in that mentality, to stay in that fight. And so bringing these things up is very, very important. It's one thing to just say something like this, please, Lord, save us. But it's another thing for somebody that's saying it to also be righteous and not a drug dealer or not, you know, and that's why it goes without saying, those that are making real hip hop, they have a responsibility to uphold the heavy information that they're dropping, but also it's almost like as if you can't be the kind of person to give advice and not be taking your own advice. So you have to be the one that set the standard for the next generation. You have to be the one that does all of it. You got to do the knowledge, like Captain Desire has been on that channel. You got to do the knowledge so that you can actually push the Most High's agenda forward of getting rid of their agenda. So it's like, obviously we know who the wicked is, and we can bring it up in our music. But then what happens is Jake in the world, they stop right at the edge of the cliff instead of taking that leap of faith and actually going in to the problem and solving it, which would include you having to come to the Sabbath services, come to the feast days, come to the Passover, to go to camp. That's where it really starts to kick into high gear, and that's where the real revolution is taking place. It's where the Israel is actually rehearsing the righteous acts rather than just talking about it. And there's a difference between real hip-hop artists and fake hip-hop artists. But I'm going to tell you straight up, the real ones are in the Isupk and the Commanding General Yohana. Right. Everybody else out there, they're saying some cool stuff here and there, maybe, but then they're going to spark a blunt. They're saying cool stuff, and then they go and sleep with their neighbor's rib. So it's like, what are we supposed? We're not supposed to. We could see the influence and see their attempt and appreciate some of the hip hop that's out there. You may have artists that are technically in the world that you may listen to some of their music, but bear in mind that they're not holding to the standard. So you can't make that your world, is what I'm saying. Your world should be surrounded by your brothers that are doing this work too. I can tell you right now, there's a lot of talent in this truth. And brothers can spit things like this, praying for the Lord not to move forward unless they be exalted. That's a bar against a whole entire nation of people. Right. So I don't understand how Christianity tries to say that, you know, the Bible is all about love and stuff. This is clearly a clapback. This is battle rap. Right. This is like battle rap. It's literally ancient hip hop that was approved by King David. So this is definitely right on par with what we want our music to sound like. Ra'ash means the head. because Ra'ash means head, right? Masabya, of those who surround. There's a root word here. That's crazy. Masab. So technically it's saying head, and then Masabya means surrounding me. So it's saying the head of those who surround me. Okay. The evil Aimal, there it is. The evil. I was about to put Mama. The evil of their lips. Root word in here. Well, this is all one root word. This right here is shapah. This is the root word right here. It says of their lips. Of their lips. Now the word lip is right here where it says shapath, but that means lip. So shapath yam means lips. And then the Y at the end makes it their lips. So possessive adjective that goes at the end. Wa means there. They or there. You understand? So when you add that to the end of a phrase, it means theirs. Instead of it, like if you say ya, it would mean my lips. Shapathyam ya would be my lips, but shapathyam wa means their lips. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm just adding that modifier there. So what I'm doing when I go into these classes, and we're doing a lot at once, we're doing the whole entire scripture, but where possible, I'm actually showing you the rules of the language, where I'm giving you the root word, then I'm showing you some of the characters that go on the left and right side of that root so that we can understand. Like right here, you see how I said there? Right. Well, we see it right here too. Ya rawam wa. Shapath yam wa. They and there. Right. They and there. So that's a rule that we're learning. When you're talking about somebody else, you add a Y at the end of that root word when you're talking about a feature or something that they got going on. Okay. So keep that in mind. Last word right here to end off the class today is ya kasamwa. Root word here is kasa. Kasa. Yakasa. That means close or conceal. It says conceal them. Or let cover them is what it says. But I like the way this says it. So it's basically telling you that the head of those who surround the evil of their lips conceal them. So he's talking about those that are surrounding me, shut them up, prevent them, confine them, imprison them. You understand? That's what it's talking about. And so that's the justice that we're asking the Most High for, because clearly this person that needs to be concealed is the violent one, is the dangerous one, the one that if justice is to be served, they're not going to be in power. They're not going to be able to spread their lies as poison. They're going to be able to spread destruction as the way that they are against our people, even though they're very subtle about it. We're living a system in a society where they live the way that they want. They look at us like we're the problem, while the ones that are in rulership are the ones that create us to be a problem. So it's very subtle, but we see it clear as day. And the way that we avoid that is, again, by coming back to our heritage and our culture. And these Hebrew classes are, again, just reinforcing the fact that this is the home of the truth, and the language that we're learning and reading these precepts is just making it all the much more relevant that what we're doing is the right thing. You understand? So let's go ahead and read it one more time, verse 8 and 9 in the Hebrew, and then we'll end off the class. Starting from the top, this is Psalm chapter 140, verse 8. Al-Tathan, Yahweh, Ma'awayaya, Rashai, Zamamwa, Al-Thapak.
Al-Tapak,
Ya Rawamwa.
Yabawamwa,
Salah.
Salah,
Ra'ash.
Ra'ash,
Masabya.
Masabia,
Aimal.
Aimal,
Shapath Yamwa.
Shapat Yamwa,
Ya Kasamwa.
Yakasamwa.
And what we said was, Yahweh, do not grant the desires of the wicked his scheme not to go further lest they be exalted. Salah. The head of those who surround the evil of their lips conceal them. Okay, that's definitely those are fighting words. You understand?
Right.
And then we're in this war as a spiritual war, and we have to understand that the warfare, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but this language is a mighty weapon for us in our prayers and in the things that we say, because it affects the lives and the influence of how we operate here, so that we can remain safe in this day and time. So with that, this is the Isupk and the Command Junior Hana. Started out at 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York in 1969. And for that, we'll go ahead and end it on that. Let's go ahead and give a courtesy salute to the brothers. Men of Israel, Ahmad Shabbat, Ahmad Barak, Yahweh Hashem Yahushua Barakatam, Yad Matah. Sorry, and turn to face the sisters for one courtesy salute. Men of Israel, Ahmad Shabbat, Ahmad Barak, Yahweh Shamar Atam Ba'ashem Yahushua, Yad Matah. Dismiss. Excellent.